Hi there, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums, and this is the walkthrough and tutorial of my Thanksgiving mini album. It actually is not that mini. It is 8.5 by 8.5. It's got about a 2.5 inch spine. Yep, about a 2.5 inch spine. I've made this with the paper. It's called Bountiful Blessings from Country Craft Creations. Sorry that it's in here. Hope the shine doesn't bother you. But I have just about wiped out the paper pad. I have scraps left and not really too many of them. I've already made cards in a separate video, and I have two full pages left. One page was this page of cut-aparts that I'm going to make other Thanksgiving Day cards. And then the other one is this page, which is what I used for the cover. And if I were having Thanksgiving, I would use this as my menu board. Maybe print right on it, or maybe write something on a piece of paper and put it right on top. I don't know. Or this could be placemats, but this is a gorgeous piece of paper. Anyhow, let me take you through and show you exactly what's in here, and the tutorial will follow at the end. I did use a couple of seam bindings. It's available from Country Craft Creations. This one is sort of a rust color. It matches, although you could have used a burgundy. And then that is, I believe it's ivory, and that is a sage green. So I just attached all three of those to the mini album. And this has obviously double matted. And this was cut out from the cover, and then I fussy cut her and attached her to there. I think that came out beautiful. The paper is fabulous to work with. So, and let me take you, so here is the spine, and then the back I just used that burgundy paper as well. Let's put my phone in it so it would be flat. So, front page has just a very small waterfall, and the reason is because I was running out of paper. And, but you can get a couple extra pictures in here. So this opens up, and that opens like that. So that's a beautiful spread. The pages are 8 by 8, so you could fit a 5 by 7 photo. And I've made photo mats that you can put in the book. Now this is for a 5 by 7 photo, but you could put a 4 by 6 photo in it as well. It can go in either direction. And these photo mats, so this one I inked up the paper. You'll put a photo on top of there, but they can go in different places in the book, or you don't have to use them at all. In addition to the photo mats, I left some room for journaling. So there's a couple of journaling cards as well. So photo mats are different sizes, and journaling cards are as well. Now obviously this is dark. You could use a white gel pen to write on that, or just turn that over, and there you go. So, and that's some ideas on how you can do placement on here. Now if you had just 4 by 6 photos, you could simply go like that, stack them on top, because a lot of times there's extraneous things on your photos. So that is that page, and this is held together with a magnet. Here's the next page. I love this paper. I put this in the beginning of the album so you could show what your table setup looks like. So, and lots of mats here. This can go up that way. I didn't attach that. And there were a couple of extra little cut-aparts of that paper as well. So there's that, and that'll stay down there to hold. Good room for a 5 by 7 there. Oops, this closes this way. And again, nice room to put whatever size picture you want. If you had 5 by 7, you would cover up some of that, and that's fine. That's what it's meant for. But if you had 4 by 6, that would look fabulous on there as well. And I did cut this out from the paper. And again, I thought, your table settings would look fabulous on here. So here is this page. I made this photo mat but didn't attach it because if you have, and this just comes up real quick, it's just tacked down. If you had a 4x6 photo, you might want to put it on here. I mean 4x6 portrait or landscape. So again, that's not attached. This is held together with a magnet and it comes up this way. And there is room again for your 5x7 photo, or you could put a 4x6 photo in here as well. This does come up, it's just tacked down. And then also here, there is room for a 4-inch photo. So that goes down like that. This opens up like that. And I did cut some mats out that you could do really any way you wanted to. This one would go here. So you could put a 4x6 photo there in either direction, and same with that. And room for journaling on the bottom, and there is a journaling card if you want it. Now you don't need these mats, you could just put your photos down on here, and you could use 4x6s, 4x4s, 3x, whatever you've got. Whatever you've got. So that closes like that. And I love these turkeys in the car. I thought that was fun. So again, that can go like that. And room to put your photos there. Journaling card like that. However you want to do it. I thought this is where we show the desserts. And again, we can use, this will open like that, and that opens that way. It's a great spread. I love this paper, and a photo on here would look fabulous. But if you wanted to put photos on photo mats, there you go. So this one I felt like it needed to be inked up just so it would match with the paper. Once you put a photo on there, you're really not going to see that much ink. You'll just see a little border around here, a little mottled border. So again, room to put your photos, and that opens up there so you can stick a little photo there. So that'll close that way. And then this one comes up. That was from the cut aparts as well. And then I did cut some of the pieces from this. Maybe just because I like pumpkin pie and I don't get it that often. I mean, I don't know, who does? But there you go, room for your pictures. So there's that. And the final page, this opens this way. That opens like that. I used yellow to correspond with the sunflowers, which are gorgeous. And then there's a couple extra photo mats here. But just to show you, whoops, this is open here. So you can put your photos in there. Not too much room there, but that'll close like that. And then you can use this to put your photos on and stick it in there, or just put any extra pictures you had from Thanksgiving inside this little pocket, which was made cutting this out and just tacking it or gluing it on the bottom and the side. So lots of room for full-size photos here, but if you had smaller photos, you can cut them down and add them to the page. And again, there's the back. There is a tie closure. And even with all the photo mats in there, there's still a lot of room in this book. There are 5 pages, but I've made use of all of the room in the book. And as you saw, I used a lot of the paper. There's not very much of the paper left. So you utilize the paper and don't have much left. You can make placeholders when you're done, or send Thanksgiving cards to send people who weren't able to make it for this Thanksgiving. So that's what I have for you today. This was an 8.5 by 8.5 mini album using the fabulous Bountiful Blessings paper, only available at Country Craft Creations. I will put a link in the description box so you can see everything that you can get from Country Craft Creations to make this fabulous mini album. And I will show you next how to make this mini album. So the tutorial will follow, so just stay tuned. Alright, to make the cover you're going to need 2 chipboard pieces at 8.5 by 8.5 and 1 chipboard piece at 8.5 by 2. And to cover those, you will need, for covering the spine, you'll need 10.5 by 5. And to cover the two 8.5 by 8.5, you'll need 10.5 by 10.5. And let's start with those. So I'm going to grab my scoreboard just because I want to use that as a way of lining up everything. And I am grabbing a spacer, shim, whatever you want to call it. So I'm putting my 10.5 by 10.5 with the top at the top and side over at the side and the spacer on there. And we cut it at 10.5 by 10.5 because it's 2 inches, 1 inch on each side, top and bottom, bigger than our cover. So I've already put on some score tape, and I'm going to add some glue because I don't have any score tape sheets. You could just crisscross with more score tape, or I wouldn't use ATG because it's not strong enough. So I am going to go ahead and take off the backing of the score tape and grab my glue. So you can use whatever liquid adhesive you want, but again, you want something that's going to be very strong. And I have been using the art glitter from the artglitter.com people, and I know it is strong, and once it dries, it is on there good, because if you've ever tried to take it off. So now I'm going to put it against the chipboard shim on the side and right at the top and push that down. And I'll move these out of the way and grab, you could use either a bone folder or just something just to make sure that you're pressing that adhesive down and making sure the glue sticks. Whatever you want to do to make sure it's down. Now I'm going to take the edge of the bone folder and go against the edge of the chipboard and just make sure we get a crisp line. And then I'll take this and put it on my surface and push it down and burnish on the fold lines. And I'll do that with all 4 sides. This down by putting the edge on the table. I'll fold it down that way and burnish, making sure to get the edges. Then I'll do the other side, opposite side. Burnish and get the edges. Then I'll open it up and do it for the other 2 sides. Okay, now I'm going to open this up, and now you can clearly see where there are squares on each corner. I'm going to grab my scissors and cut those squares out on all 4 corners. Just follow the lines and cut out the 4 corners. Okie dokie. All right. So I want to make sure there's not going to be any overhang when I fold this all down. So I'm going to take my scissors and put them up against the chipboard, and you see there's a slight amount of overhang, not a lot on this one. So I'll put the scissors and just trim a little bit. And I'll go to the next corner. There's more on this. So you see how much is there? I'm going to take my scissors and trim that off. So I'll do that on all four corners with the black showing up, and then I'll turn it upside down and do the same with the black part down, and you see the chipboard. So I'll just put the scissors against the chipboard and just get a sliver of the 1 inch left. See, there's not much coming off. It's very minute. So that's what we need to do for that. Okay, now we're going to add glue and close the side. So I'm going to start by putting a bead of glue down right next to the chipboard, and then continuing to put it there. I'll grab my bone folder and put it right up against the chipboard. Take the cardstock, put it right up against the chipboard, and then I'm folding it down with my fingers, and I'll use the bone folder to make sure it's adhered and the glue is spread throughout. If there's excess, you can just use a paper towel or something to clean it up. I'm going to do the opposite one. Add some glue to the side. I'm going to be fairly generous. And then we'll do the two opposite sides. Use the bone folder, go against it. And one more side. And then when you're all done, grab your bone folder and just go along the edge, and that will ensure a nice crisp line. So go ahead and do the other one, and then we'll work on the spine. So with the spine, you're going to use a 1 inch spacer and a 1.5 inch spacer. So again, put this at the top and the side. I'm putting the 1.5 inch spacer there. And this one I just have score tape on because it's a smaller piece. So again, I'll put it at the top and the side and push it down. And then go ahead and burnish that score tape real well. And we do it a little differently, so I'm gonna do that, and that'll help me when I go like this, and go like that, and we want to make sure we're just training the paper on where we want it to fold. Alright, so now in this case we've got rectangles instead of squares, and I am going to cut right across this rectangle. So that's how I'm going to cut that. Okay. And I'm going to put my glue here on the edge of the chipboard again and cover, put glue on this triangle, this rectangle, and this triangle. So I'm taking my bone folder, pushing again, and flattening that out. And then I'm going to turn it over and find the edge and push the glue. So I will do that again. Put glue there, fill a triangle, this rectangle, this triangle, push against there. And you could go ahead and push this down from the top. But you also want to make sure you push it down here. And then grab your scissors one more time and put it against the edge of the chipboard here on the spine and just take off a sliver. And you'll just need to do that 4 times on this one. So just see, a sliver, just a little bit. All right, so now we've got that done. We're going to take our spine, put it on our scoreboard just to help keep it straight. Oh, I'm going to grab some score tape. I have 3/8. You could use 3/8 or a quarter, or you could just use the art glitter glue. And again, there's no glitter in the art glitter glue. It's just a very good, strong adhesive. I think once upon a time it was made for glitter, but paper crafters have found it's a good all-purpose glue. And I'm taking off that score tape backing, adding some glue here, and then I'm going to add glue here right next to the spine, but I don't want it to go any more than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to try to stay maybe 3/16 of an inch away from there. I mean, it's not the end of the world if it does. It just will get on the spine. All right, so I have my 8.5 by 8.5 inch piece. I've put my spine with the side up against there and the top up against the top. I'm going to pull this until it falls. Make sure it's even and push it down. And this piece will come up a little, and that's quite all right. That's how you know you've got it. And I'm going to push that real well. I'll turn this over and just burnish, so then both chipboard pieces are going to be equal to each other. They'll be level. So there, we've got that. See how that goes? And if you put glue too close to that, it would be seeping up. Just grab a wipe and clean it off. Oops, let me grab this piece. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Take off the backing of the score tape. And put some glue. So you're about 3/16 of an inch away. I don't put glue over score tape. One or the other. You know, either glue's going to hold it or the score tape. If you put glue over score tape, you're wasting the tape. All right, I'm going to push that down. Whoops. Making sure it's lined up. There we go. Push that down and then turn it over. me push that down. Okay, we put the spine on, and it's a little floppy. It has a lot of movement to it, so we're going to cover this with a piece of cardstock that's 5 inches wide and just a smidgen below 8.5. So you can make it just take off about a 1/16 of an inch, just so it doesn't come off of the edge. And then I'm just going to use some art glitter glue, and I have a whole new one, and I am just going to be fairly generous with this. Oops. I want to make sure I get the spine real well. It's like finger painting for kids. Then I'm going to line it up at the bottom first, just because I can see it. Make sure it's right at the bottom. And then I'm really going to just do it by feel, and it's good at the top. So once I get it on, I will go ahead and burnish that. And I'm going to let this dry before I gently pull up the cover of the book and burnish that fold. I'm just going to let it dry so that way it doesn't pucker up. So we will go ahead and burnish that after we're done. But what we're going to do now is make the hinge. So what you'll need is a piece of paper 10 by 7 15/16. The reason I want this smaller is because when we're putting the page in, the page is going to be 8 inches. So it's just a little bit smaller than what that page is, just to give you a little wiggle room. So I'll put 10 inches up at the top, and let me grab my scoring implement. And you know, it's always important when you score to make sure that the top is right up against the top and the side. If your hinge comes out wonky, a lot of times it's because your paper has moved while you're scoring. So I am going to start at 2, and the pattern's going to be half, half, 3/8, half, half, 3/8. I'll have 5 pages, so we'll need 2 1/2 inch for the pages, and then the 3/8 will be the gusset. So I'll start at 2, 2.5, 3, 3 3/8, 4 7/8. I'm sorry, 3 7/8, 4 3/8, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/8, 6 5/8, 7 1/8, 7 1/2, 8, 8 1/2. So I have about 1.5 inches on this side, about 2 inches. That's enough for me. Alright, and during part of this I am going to move the camera so you can see it from that angle as well. But what I'm going to do first is I am going to fold the paper in between each 1/2 inch. So here's a half, here's a half. I'm going to fold it down there, and I'm going to take my bone folder and burnish it real well. So here's the next 1/2 inch. I'll take my paper, fold it down, and burnish again. So we'll do that for the remaining sets of the 1/2 inch hinges. And one more. Okay. And then I'm going to stop the camera, and I'm going to film this 2 different directions. First I'm going to film it at the top actually, and then I'll put the camera down at the side so you can see. But what I do is I put my fingers here at the top My thumb's down at the bottom, and I'm holding it down with my hand as well. And I'm going to make what we've already scored. It's sort of lifting up. It's forming a mountain, and I want that mountain to get taller, because we're going to grasp it together so it's not a mountain now, it's just straight up, and take where the paper is at the bottom of the 1/2 inch and fold it back and forth. So then you're going to have that little mountain there. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll turn the camera on the side so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Just pull it together, go back and forth. I'm sort of holding it now where that hinge is to get to the next one. After you've done it a couple hundred times, it gets a little easier, because now I've got my paper. I don't know if you can see it. You can probably see the shadow just as much. But, so you have the hinge, and then the gusset. Okay, now that I've trained the paper, so there's the hinges. Now I'm going to glue them together. So I'm going to turn this upside down. So I've got the gussets facing up, and I'm going to take my glue in a brand new container, and I'm just going to put some glue on one side of the hinge, and hold that together. I'm actually going to pinch it, turn it upside down, and pinch that together. And so see, that'll stay straight. Now I'm going to add glue to the other ones and go ahead and glue those together. Actually, I'm going to add glue. I want to make sure that there's enough on the very top and the bottom so it stays glued together. Oops. Got some on the bottom, which is no big deal because we're going to put it on the bottom. Now I'm going to turn it upside down. Don't push it flat because you don't want the glue on your surface, but I'm going to grab those mountains, which are the hinges, and just squeeze them together so the glue adheres. And then I'll take my bone folder, I'm holding it together so they don't want to separate. Take my bone folder and I'm going to push the hinges all one way and burnish. And I'll manually move them the other way and burnish again. I'm going to get my mat out because some of the glue's going to come out of the end, which is fine. So just continue to burnish it one way and then the other. Okay, here's the underside, and there's the top. So the hinges are flat up. All right, now I'm going to grab my book, and remember we put this down, we did not fold the book. I'm going to do that now. I'll just make sure that it folds easily by slowly pulling the book up and putting my bone folder in that crease. And there we go. So now the book is not quite as flexible. So we can add our hinge to that. Now first I do a dry fit. I make sure it's centered top and bottom, side to side. And I note that I have maybe 3/8, somewhere between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch on the sides till you see where the fold of the book is. So I just want it equidistant. So I want it 1/4 inch from here to here and 1/4 inch from here to here, and the same here, 1/4 inch here to here, 1/4 inch here to here. So now I know where it's going to fit. Then I'm going to get some glue, and I'm going to make sure that there is a good amount of glue on the hinge. As a matter of fact, I'll take this, which doesn't have that the top. Some more glue will come out. I'm going to put it on the hinges first, and then I'll go ahead and put it on, I call it the wings. I don't know what you want to call it. So I've done it in the past using score tape, and sometimes I still do. You could do it whichever way you want, whatever form of adhesive you prefer. All right, and now knowing what the distance is, I'm going to put it down, and I already see glue coming out of the top, so I'm just going to wipe it up, make sure it's straight, and then I'll use my finger to take the glue and try to go in, bring it into the center rather than have it smear out. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's going to dry clear. And then I'll take my finger and burnish it. I don't like using a bone folder at this point because it can leave marks. I mean, I guess if you have a Teflon one, but I'm not worrying about it that much. I don't mind using my fingers for this. So now that I know it's on there, I'll pull the hinges all one direction, take my bone folder and burnish. Turn the hinges the other direction, take my bone folder and burnish. And then I'll go ahead and burnish on those wings. Now the wings, I don't worry about if the glue comes out or if I make marks with the bone folder, because you're going to cover that with paper. I don't go real close to the edge. That's still where I'll use my fingers. All right, now I will work the hinges just a little bit more. Burnish it, turn them one way, burnish it again. And then I'll take my bone folder and gently go in the crease and turn the page up. I have to move these hinges the other direction and do it again. You don't want to push too hard where you're going to tear the paper. You know, I have in the past, so I know exactly how hard I can push. So there we go. There is the hinges in the book. I'm going to let this dry while I go ahead and make some pages. Okay, now we're going to be making the base pages. So you will need 5 sheets of cardstock that are 8 by 8, and you'll need 5 sheets of cardstock that are 9 by 8, 8 by 9. I'm going to take the 8 by 9, and with the 9-inch side at the top, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch and at 8.5. And we'll do that to all 5 pieces. After you've done that, then take your scissors and miter the corners on the larger piece all four sides. So now I'm going to take this, turn it over, and fold and burnish on the score lines. And so I've got the two tabs. I'm going to put glue on the 1/2 inch tabs on both sides. And take the 8x8 square and just center it on the sides, top and bottom. And once you've gotten it centered, go ahead and take your bone folder and burnish. And there you've got your base page. So I start with the hinge furthest away from me, and I dry fit it. I take the tube now, which is the base page, and put it over the hinge and make sure it fits. If it doesn't, if it's a little tight, then just take your scissors and just take off a little bit. Don't go all the way to the bottom, maybe go halfway. So this is 1/2 inch, so maybe go about 1/4 inch. So just a small piece like that, if you need it. If you don't, leave it alone. And what I will do is add glue on the top half, so you don't want to go all the way to the bottom. And I'll do it on both sides. And now you have to be careful when you're putting the tube on. You don't go all the way down because you don't want to leave the glue residue showing below. So I'll take this. We know it fits because I dry fit it. And then I'm going to push it down. The tube will go down on that hinge till maybe there's about 1/8 inch showing. You don't want to go all the way down to the bottom because that will impinge on the hinge. The hinge won't move. So now I've got it down, and I will go ahead and push it down with my fingers first, and then take the bone folder and burnish. So I will show you a close-up of how much room there is still left on there. So I just wanted to show you, here's the bottom of the hinge, and there's the bottom of the base page. So you can see there's about 1/8 inch showing. It's not all the way down to the gusset. There's still some room, and now the page will go back and forth without a problem. Okay, now we're going to start decorating the pages. We're going to start with the front of page 1. So for this, you'll need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 6 3/4 by 8. We'll grab our scoreboard and score both of them at 1/2 inch with the 6 3/4 side at the top. So we have those two. I'll grab my scissors and we will miter the corners. And I'll do it here on the scoreboard just so you can see, but we will fold on those tab lines and burnish the folds. And then you're going to put with the tab on the left side, put that on the left side of the paper, and with the tab on the right side, put that on the right side of the paper. And I've already gone and done that, and I'll show you what it looks like. So here is the tab on the right and the tab on the left. And I went and added magnets so it will close. Now you'll need to cut 4 pieces of the designer paper, and I started with this one with the gal with the wheat and the pumpkin with the orange. It says Happy Thanksgiving. I thought that was a good way to start. So cut 4 of those at 7 3/4 by 6. And I inked around the edges. I will have 2 with the designs up, and then 2 with the main design down, so this side will show up on the top. So let's put that all together. And I am just using my Art Glitter Dries Clear adhesive to put it down. And I simply go around the perimeter of the paper. I don't want to go right to the edge, but close to the edge, so then when you push it, the glue will squish around and move close to the edge of the paper. So there's one. And I'm going to place that, center it on the paper. Top and bottom, side to side. And that is not centered. And that is much better. Okay, so there's one. And then I'll take so this is going to be the back side. And that'll be centered on this page. This is the outside of the right-hand side, and I already have inked around the edges. I used Vintage Photo. I tried Walnut Stain. I felt like it was a little too dark, so I'm just adding some glue around that magnet just to make sure it stays. And the good thing about using a liquid adhesive is you've got some room to play with it while you're waiting for the glue to dry. So there's that. And then this final piece, this was cut the 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. And again, I inked around the edges, and I'm going to further decorate these pages a little bit later. And there are some cut-aparts available. There are some labels available, and as well there is lots to fussy cut from your scraps. And that is probably what I'm going to do with this set of pages, is fussy cut maybe some of the pumpkins, some of the wheat shafts, the corn, that kind of thing. And also there is a strip on the cut apart sheet that has this corn, so you could use that as well. Alright, so that is it for page 1, and that's what it looks like all completed. Okay, and now we'll move on to page 1 back and 2 front. Okay, now we're going to move to page 1B and 2F, 1 back, 2 front. And going to be similar to the first page, and I've already cut it and scored it. So you'll need 2 pieces that are 6, no, that's not right, 7 3/4 by 8, and you'll score it 1/2 inch on one side for both of them, miter the corners, fold, etc. And so they're going to go on the left side of page 1B and the right side of page 1B. So I'm going to go ahead and glue them down now. And on this one, I'm going to add magnets and show you how I add magnets. The other ones already had the magnets, and I didn't show you how I did that. And I know it's something that we do a lot, but some people have questions on how to add the We Are Memory Keepers magnets. So I'll put one onto there, grab a cloth to wipe it, and then this is for the left side of the page. So that will go here, right against the edge of the page, and go ahead and glue it. All right, so now these are out of the pack, but they're the We Are Memory, no they're not, they're the basic gray small magnetic discs, and you will need a positive and a negative. So it doesn't matter which one you start with, but I will peel off, there's a piece of glue on my hand, I will peel off the backing, and I'll put it in the center of the page on the back and go about 1/2 inch from the edge of the paper. I'm just eyeballing it, it's not critical on where you put it. And then I will peel off the positive paper backing and put that on here and let it kiss, put them together. So now you have the adhesive side up, and all you're going to do is close this, push it down, and there you go. Now I'm just going to push that down to make sure it's in, which it is. And that's all you have to do for it. So now I will put my decorative paper. So this one, I'm going to use some plain cardstock. I'm going to lightly ink around the edges. If I had a coordinating ink to match the blue, then I would use that, but I don't. And I'm going to use cut-aparts and/or tags to decorate this paper. Oops, there is a blemish on that page. Oh well, that's okay. And this piece is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. And I'm just going to put this down on the center of the page. And that's what I'm going to do for that one. So this one, on the center of the page and the inside, another, and is there a right and wrong way of this? Not really. Oh, see, now, I guess there is. That's the way. So this is going to go down. And I thought this would be a great page for you to, if you want to do a place setting or a picture of everybody sitting at the table, or your decorations, this would be a great background for it. And as I put this down, I'm thinking, is this going to fit? Yes, it's going to be a little tight. I probably should have cut it a little bit smaller. Let's see, if I go like this, nobody will notice it. Would it fit better? Nope, I cut it exactly the same. I don't think I cut the 7 3/4. I think I cut it a little bit bigger. But I would go 7 3/4, so then you have a 1/4 inch on each side, if you like that size. All right, and then on the inside, so I'm going to continue with this pattern. So I'm going to use this pattern paper for the inside and maybe cut one of those out from scrap paper, one of the jugs and place settings, and put that around where the pictures are going to go. Yes, that's upside down. Does it make a difference? No. But I will turn it right side up just to be sure. Just so it all matches. And there we go with that. And now on this side, I'm going to put not the decorative, not this, not the A side, but I'm going to put the B side on the front. So that'll go like that. And then on here, this is where I'm going to put the A side on the front. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to decorate this later on, but there we go. So lots of room for pictures. I mean, this 8x8 page gives you lots of rooms to put photos. All right, now we're going to go to 2 back and 3 front. Okay, 2B, 3F. 2B, I cut this 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, inked around the edges. Now this could go on either side, but I'm just going to put it on the left side. I try to switch things up, and if I'm going to have something on the left side on one set of pages, then I'll have it on the right side on the next. But what happened was on this page, I had it in the book a little bit later, and so I put it on that side. I probably should have switched that one, but no harm, no foul. So I'm going to just put this one on here. This I'm going to have room for photos. For instance, I'll probably have something like this here, or maybe that, I'm not sure exactly, or maybe a 5x7, an opportunity for a 5x7 here. Once I go through decorating, then I'll decide. Now this one, instead of going on the sides, I'm going to go top and bottom. And I've cut these at 2 different sizes. So I have one that's 4.5 by 8 and one that's 4 7/8 by 8. Probably it's just because those are the scraps I had left. The 4 7/8, now on both of these you'll put the short side at the top and score it 1/2 inch and miter the corners. The 4 7/8 by 8 is going to go on the bottom. So I'll line the fold up with the bottom of the page. Make sure it's straight on the edges. And grab my bone folder burnish. I'll open it up and burnish inside as well. But there we go with that. And then the 4.5 by 8 is going to go on the top. Now, as you can tell, this is pretty simple. I don't have a lot of flaps and folds. Just sometimes the paper dictates exactly how I'm going to decorate the pages. If you're using a different paper and you have lots more coordinating elements, different cut aparts or pages that coordinate, or even if you have this and you have the coordinating My Colors cardstock, then you might decorate it a little differently. All right, let's look at these papers that I have. So those two will go on top and those two will go on the bottom. And I've already inked around the edges. And this measures 4 1/4 by 7 3/4. So before I glue this down, I'm just going to grab some ATG and put a couple of dots on it and just get the lay of the land. Just make sure that I like how this goes. Now this one, the paper is cut sideways, but I'm not going to tell anyone if you don't tell anyone. I mean, nobody's going to notice. And then I do know that this is going to go on the inside, so this will adhere down. Again, 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. Ink around the edges. If you want to put this side up, you certainly can. But again, what I will do when it comes to decorating is use some of the scraps and cut out pieces. All right, so this, I'm going to just add 2 little dots of the ATG just because I want to see where I'm going to put magnets, if I'm going to put magnets. And I think I need to trim this down a little bit more, so I'll do that. But I also cut out 2 of these. These are from the tags and labels, but I inked around the edges on one of them, and the other one I inked around the edges on the back. And I also had taken one and I placed it on a piece of black cardstock and cut around it so it's a little bit larger. Now, if you have a brother scan and cut, you don't have to worry about that. And what's going to happen is this is going to go in the center with that. Isn't that cool? So I know I need a magnet on the bottom here, and then I'll need a magnet to coordinate on that. So I'm going to get that all prepared. I'll cut this down a little bit because I think I cut it too big, and then we'll come back and glue everything down. All right, let me show you what I've done. I've put paper 7 3/4, 7 3/4, and then 7 3/4 by 4 1/4 and 7 3/4 by, it's about 3 7/8. And I put a magnet down here, and I've got the corresponding magnet ready to go up here. I front and back of this one and just the inside of the bottom one, so I can go ahead and put the paper down. In fact, I'll do that. Cover up this magnet because it's down, so we're good. So that can go there. All right, so now there's this magnet here. And I've got the corresponding magnet there. I put a little line of 1/8 tape because what I want to do is have this flap here, but I want to keep it open so if you had a photo, you could still stick a photo on here. So I just have a small piece of tape, and I'll add glue also, just a little bead of glue on the top of that. And that'll go there, so I'm going to center it. Oops, you know what I should have done first though, is put this on there. So let me bring this. So I should have put this on first, but you know what I'm going to do? I'll cut this in half and just tuck it under. Oh, but this is where that's what I did. So now I'm ready to peel off I don't know if you can see it, but that's where the magnet is. I'm peeling off the top of the magnet, letting it stick on the black, adding glue to this piece. There we go. And then I'll add this embellishment onto the top. There we go. So how do you like that? Isn't that a great set of pages? So this will open like that. And then you see that on the bottom. And there's that. So you have lots of room on this one set for some photos. All right, we're going to go to 3B and 4F next. All right, 3B is going to be a little more complicated. So what we're going to do with this is we have a piece that's 6 3/4 by 6 1/8 with the 6 3/4 inch side at the top, score at 1/2, and then that's going to go onto the right hand side of 3B. I'm mitering the corners, and I'm going to put glue on and put that, centering it on the right hand side of the page, and just go to the end of the page, the end of your tube, not to where the hinge is. So we've got that. And then cut a piece 4 3/4 by 8, and with the 4 3/4 side at the top, score it 1/2 inch, fold and miter. And I will add this to the left hand side of 3B. And this will go forward to the left hand side. You're going to make sure the top and the bottom are straight. Okay, and then I have a small piece that's 4 3/4 by 3 1/8. Score 1/2 inch with the 4 3/4 inch side at the top. Fold, miter, and burnish. And I'm going to center that on top of this on top of the flap, so it goes all the way to the left hand side of the page. Now the magnet is going to go on this little flap on the far, when you open it, it's going to go on the far left side, and the corresponding magnet will go there. So go ahead and do that. And for the 4F, we're going to cut, I didn't measure this ahead of time, and I guess I should have, 4 1/8 by 4 3/8, score at 1/2 inch. And put that, centering it on the page on the right hand side of 4F. Now it's up to you whether or not you want to add a magnet to it's it's light enough that you don't need to. And if you have a photo here, do you want a magnet? If you have a 5x7 photo, do you want a magnet right there? Now I'm going to probably put a magnet, oh, maybe an inch in, maybe like about here, because then the corresponding magnet will go here. And you can put a 4x6 photo here and the magnet's not going to go on the photo. I just have to be, you just have to be cognizant of it. Don't go crazy. So I'm going to put the magnet on and cut the papers to go on these pages, and I will be right back. All right, let's put the pattern paper on. So I have a 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, and in this one I'm putting the turkey side down. But if you like the turkeys, you can have them face up. Whatever you want to do. So I'll center that on the page, making sure the flaps will still close. And then for this 6 3/4 by 6 1/8, I'm going to have the turkey side on the front and the script side, writing side on the back. So I'll go ahead and add that. And again, I'm going to decorate the inside of this with some of these turkeys from my scrap paper. Now this is easy to cut because it's an oval. I might even back it on some burgundy cardstock. I'm not sure, but it's an idea. You could use other colors too. You could use green. You could use an off-white. So that goes on here. And then this one, I have 2 pieces cut. So again, the turkey will go on the front and the writing side will go on the back. I've already cut and inked around the edges. And the good thing about this is you still could put a 4x6 photo on this little piece. If you wanted to, you could trim it down, but you don't have to. I just love the turkey print on this paper, so that's why I sort of have it featured on the front. But you don't have to, and you might not even be using the same paper. Alright, so that goes like that. And then this is one of the cut aparts that I just thought was adorable. Yeah, so this has burgundy, which is probably why I thought I would use burgundy as an accent color on this page. And I did not cut anything for the back of this, so I will do that and put it on, and then we'll work on this page. Okay, so for this page it's pretty simple. I cut a 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, inked around the edges, and the turkey sides going down. And now on this one, this was a cut apart, and it was a 4x6 cut apart, but there was some words down at the bottom. It said Thanksgiving greetings, which would be great if you were making a Thanksgiving Day card, but I didn't want it on here. So I cut it down, and that's why this piece was a little smaller. Did I give you the measurement of that? I think I did. So I'll add glue to the top, and that will go down on there. And I also did cut out a small piece, and you could put either side on, whichever you want. But this is going here. So I figure if you use this as a journaling card, you could take a piece of plain paper, whether you type it or write it, and just adhere that onto there. So that is that set of pages. I think that one came out awfully cute. Love the turkeys. I mean, who doesn't love that turkey in the car, that vintage look? And then here's the turkey in another car. So that's what we have for that. And now we're going to move on to 4B and 5F. All right, we're going to work on 4B first and complete that, and then we'll go to 5F. So I've cut a piece of cardstock 5 by 8 with the 5-inch side at the top, scored 1/2 inch. Miter the corners and fold and burnish. And this one's going to go on the left-hand side. So that'll go on the left. And then there is a piece. You're going to cut 6 3/4 by 8. Miter, fold, and burnish. And this will go on the right side of the back of page 4. I'm making sure it's lined up at the bottom as well as on the side. And I'll attach that and burnish to make sure it's attached well. And I'll go ahead and grab some magnets and put magnets in there and cut cardstock and show you how we're going to decorate it. All right, we're going to start with the 7 3/4 by 7 3/4 inch, which is going to go down on the bottom. I like how this says give thanks, because even though if you put a photo you're going to cover that up, the give thanks will still show. And so I will add glue to the back of it, to the A side, I suppose you'd say, and center that on the page. And we're good with that one. And then on this side, this is 6 by 7 3/4. And look at how that fits pretty well. Or you could put that one there. This is going to go on the front. So I'll put glue around the edges, and I already did put on my magnets, as I showed you before. So that'll go on the inside. And for this one, this page, I just have the A side on one of the flaps. Now I'm going to use orange when I put photo mats down to decorate, but I didn't want it to be overpowering. And by the way, this is a great set of pages to maybe put your dessert table, a picture of your dessert table on here. Because even though it's got the turkey, it's got pumpkin pie. That's what I assume it is, pumpkin pie. All right, so this piece is 4 1/4 by 7 3/4. And I will go ahead and put glue on the A side. So this part is all going to be this B side. And it'll go like that. But on this over here, I will have the turkey, the pies, the pumpkin, the flower, the candle. So that'll be on the left-hand side. Just like that. All right, that's what we're going to do for that. And then we'll move over to 5F next. All right, for 5F, you need 2 pieces of cardstock, 1 6 1/8 by 5. with a 5-inch side at the top, score it 1/2 inch. Miter the corners, fold and burnish. And then you'll need 4 3/8 by 8, and with the 4 3/8 side at the top, score 1/2 inch, fold and burnish. So the 4 3/8 by 8 will go down at the bottom of the page. So I am just adding that there, making sure it's lined up, and putting it on. And then the 6 1/8 by 5, oops, this one we're going to put at the very top of the page, but center it. At least I'm centering it. If you want to center it, you can too. So there's about 3/4 of an inch on each side. And there we go. I'll burnish that with my bone folder. And so for decorating, I'm using the B side. Or should I use the A? No, I'll use the B side. I mean, as much as I like it, I can envision cutting out like pieces of the pumpkin pie, the whole turkey ensemble. So there's lots I can use to decorate this, along with some my color cardstock in the right color. I don't have it, so I don't know. And then I will have a magnet, so I'll put on the front of the top, I'll leave the back, the underside of it, until I put my magnet on. And if you wanted to, you could find a, geez, I didn't even look, but you could find a tab. I mean, this would fit on here, so would this. So you could use that on it the same way we did with this one. So the underside of that and the front. So do I want Thanksgiving and praise? No, that would duplicate it. So the thanks will go up in the front. This will go down on the top. And now that I look at it, I think, yeah, it probably needs something. So I will go ahead and cut out probably this and attach that. Okay, so now I'm going to decorate. I did take a circle and backed it on a circle of black cardstock, put a magnet back that, and added it to the page. And there's a magnet on this page as well. So I'm going to cover that. And what's nice about this is now it sort of ties the two pages together. So it just gels everything. So I've got that, and I have a piece of decorative paper to put on the inside of that page. So that'll go like that. Alright, so we've got that. And there's that. So room for a photo here, a 5x7 or a nice 4x6 that you'll double mat, even triple mat. You could put a small photo here or journaling there, and a photo here or journaling there as well. And then this page opens like that, and then like that. So again, it gives you ample room to put your photos. All right, we are almost done. We're going to do 5B and the inside back cover, and those are going to be fast and furious. Alrighty, here we go. So for the right hand side of that page, we're going to cut cardstock 4 5/8 by 6 1/8. And with the, where did my scissors go? And with the 4 5/8 side at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch. And until I find them, I am getting an alternate pair. So fold, miter the corners, fold and burnish. And then you'll need 6 3/4 by 6 1/2. With the 6 3/4 side at the top, score it 1/2 inch. Miter the corners, fold and burnish. So this will go on the left side of the page. And just center it on the page. And this one will go on the right side of the page. And again, when you're putting it on, make sure you don't go, you're going to put it on the page that you made. Don't put it on the hinge. Just put it at the end of the page. So this will be centered on the page as well. All right, and I've already cut papers for this. So, 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. And of course this is the green. Do you call it with the diamonds? Is that diamonds? And I inked around the edges, but I'm looking at it thinking I didn't ink very heavily, but that's okay. So there's that. And of course this is going to go on top, and I used this cut apart because it's got the green diamonds, and that's fabulous. It looks really nice all together. So that'll go here. And I'm going to do the inside of this page, and then I will go ahead and attach magnets and show you what it looks like all done. Just so it goes a little fast for you. Alrighty. And for this page, so I cut a piece. Now this is the back of the book, so it's obviously 8 1/2 by 8 1/2. So I cut it a smidgen under. I'll get the measurements in a second. But this one, I added this corner to my page. Well, first, this is what I did. I first fussy cut this image, keeping a corner. Then I added it to a piece of black cardstock, and then fussy cut again, so there's a little black around the edges. And then I scored, I had left enough room, so I scored and trimmed it down. So what I'm going to be doing is just taking this and putting it on the page and then attaching it. So I will put it on the page, add my glue. So this is the back side of the page. And I have it in tight in the corner. And I'll add my glue and fold and burnish. And this piece is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, of course. And then I will go ahead and add this. So this gives you a tuck spot. You could add a photo here with this showing through a little bit like this. It depends on your photo. If you have landscape, You know, this would be a great photo of everybody who was there for Thanksgiving, or maybe people that weren't able to come. But that's nice. Or you could use it just as a pocket and add all those extra photos to this page. But in any case, I'm going to go ahead and apply glue and add this to the back page. So that'll go here. It'll go like that. I try to make sure there's enough of the black showing all around so it's nice and even. And there is the back inside cover, and I'll finish this and show you what it looks like. Okay, now we're going to do the inside front cover. I saved this for the end because I wanted to do a waterfall, but I wanted to see exactly what I had left of my materials. Now that I know, I'm going to take this, the B side of this turkey page, and cut that 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. That's going to be on the base. You'll also need 3 pieces of cardstock 5 by 6 1/2. So we'll take those and put the 5-inch side at the top and score it 1/2 inch. It's a small waterfall, and if you wanted, you could add more of these, more waterfalls to it. The base would be a different size, but again, that was based on what I had left. Now, you don't want to miter the corners when you're doing a waterfall, so I will just take my bone folder and fold and burnish. On all 3 of those pieces. And I have a piece that's 6 1/2 inches wide, and I am just going to make sure that is going to work. So if you're not sure of the size of your waterfall, cut it the same width as your waterfalls, and you don't have to cut the length until you've put your waterfalls on there. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding glue starting at the top, and it's really important with waterfalls that you make sure it is straight. So I'm making sure it's straight on the top and the sides. Whoops, which it's not, but that's why we use liquid adhesive, because there's a little bit of give to it. All right, there's that one. And now, of course, the next one you're going to put right underneath the tab of that first one. Line it up with the side of the paper as well. And burnish. So we have 2. And now we'll do the third one. And line it up with the bottom of that one. And burnish. So now I see that I need to cut this down a little bit, and I will do that, but I'm first going to add my designer paper. And so what I have is 3 pieces of this to coordinate with what's already on the book. And for the underside, and I don't always put paper on the underside, but I had extra, I'm going to use this, which is the tags and also the back of this one. I I've already used this for another project, but I'm still going to use this for the cover. So I still have 3 of these pieces, and I'll be able to use a little bit of this as well. So let me cut everything. Oh, and also I cut a piece because I'm going to use this for the magnet to hold the waterfall. It's going to go like this, and this will go on there. Now you don't need to use this. You could use this if you wanted to, but I like how that matches. So this is, the width of it is 1 1/4 inches because the width of this is just 1 inch. So I'm going to go like this. And I make sure I have enough room to put a magnet. If I know what paper I'm going to have here on the front, no, this one because it's centered. I want to make sure that I don't cover up that Happy Thanksgiving. So I could just go like that. So then I know that this is where I want my waterfall. So I made a mark. I will cut this paper, the black paper, 1/2 inch more than that, score on that line, and then put it on. I'll do it real quick. So this is the line. That's the edge. That's how far I want to have it. Grab my scoreboard and score on that line. Fold and burnish. And now I'll add some glue to this little tab. You could miter the corners. I didn't in this case. Oh, you know what? It needs to be in the inside, so I just folded that in. And then I'm putting that on my waterfall. Oh, I do need to trim this, don't I? Trim that real quick. So now we know that this piece needed to be 5 3/4. I'm putting that here. And I will add a magnet to the inside of here and then put another piece of this over the magnet and put the magnet here before I put my paper on. I'm going to ink around the edges and then we'll put everything together. All right, so I'm ready to put this page together and I need to explain something. So I had made 3 flaps for the waterfall, but then after I started putting it together, I realized I only had 3 of this paper to fit. I had some smaller pieces that I had cut off of here, and I could piece them together, but I decided that wasn't exactly how I wanted it to. I could have used this on there, but I also liked how this matched with the page that's over here, so I just cut it down. So there's really just 2 flaps, and the bottom piece of cardstock measures 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. So I just want to explain that. And you could, you know, if you're using a different paper pad, then you could certainly make as many waterfalls as you wanted. But that is what I'm working with, so that is how I'm going to go. So I'm going to start with the back and add my pattern paper to the back. So the reason I do that is so I can see how the paper matches up. So even if, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Even if, trying to get this centered. Your paper is not cut straight. If you start at the bottom, then you can make sure you match this with the bottom piece. So I always start at the back for that reason. I mean, I try to make them straight, but you know, it's paper. And as long as the pattern is straight, people won't notice if your waterfall is a little wonky. So there is the second one. And I'll put the third one on, but I have to add a magnet. So until I do that, I'll go ahead and add this to the inside. And I was going to use this on the top of my, or as the waterfall tab, but I ended up not doing that. So you could if you wanted to. And again, sometimes I don't put paper on the top of my waterfall because I don't want it to get too thick. But sometimes I do. And since I do have extra paper left, I probably will take this and cut it up and put it on there. All right, so I need to add a magnet to that, and we'll put this in the book. Oh, and I already have a magnet on the inside, so we'll go ahead and put this on. So there's that. So I've already cut this and inked around the edges. I didn't do too much inking. I just went along the edge just so the white core of the paper doesn't show. And I really didn't get to put this pattern in the book at all. But that's okay. There's so many other cute ones. So this will go in here. And then this will go here. And there's different things you could do to decorate this page. I mean, I've got this piece left. I guess I could start with this because it says Happy Thanksgiving and it replicates that pattern. I don't know. I think I'm just going to leave it the same. I just love this deep red color. And the red goes with this because there's red. She's wearing red, so that matches nicely. So I'm just going to center that little higher to the top, just because we've got that little flap that comes down. Center it on the page. And we're golden there. I will add my magnet. And finish this page, and then we'll do the front. Great, now I'm going to cover the book. So this is what I've decided to do on the front cover. This was, of course, from this paper. And so what I did is I fussy cut around the girl and the table. I cut it down a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And I will put it, you know, I have the other corner that says Thanksgiving. I will put it on there. I was thinking I might ink around, not ink around, but make it a little darker where she is. And then I just decided I'm going to leave it. Now this is the page that's going to go below it because it's going to be a double mat. And then there's the page below. So that's just a plain cream colored cardstock. Now the thing is, I don't have too much of this burgundy paper, and I want to use it for mats inside, and you're not going to see much of it, so I'm going to show you a little trick. I am just putting it in my paper trimmer. I'm just eyeballing this, and I am going to cut, I'm going to go about 1 inch up from the bottom and stop at 1 inch from the top. I'm in about 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to cut some of this paper out so I can use it elsewhere. You won't know because you won't see it. Just make sure you don't go too far. If you need to draw it out, draw it out. but I've just cut this square out of it. Now I can use this somewhere else. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And I'm adding a good amount of glue because I want to be able to move it once I've gotten it on there. So I will do my best to center it. And as you can see, there's just a little bit amount of the cream color below. Just enough to show. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then I'll go ahead and put this down. I will add glue here. And I could do, if I needed, no, I can't do that. If I needed all of that, this cream color cardstock, if I want to save it, I could do the same thing and cut a hole out of it, but I don't need to. So I'm leaving a 1/16 of an inch. Well, there's more on this side, so I need to leave a little more. There we go. And then I will take this gal, carefully glue her, and put her down there. And I think that is all I need for the cover. Now you could add some flowers if you want. I actually have some fall leaves that I might put on there. They came from Prima, from Country Craft Creations. And I sort of want to add a little more to the corner. So I'm lining it up at the bottom and at the side. Oops, and there. How do you like that for the cover? Now before I put this down, I am going to put some ribbon to have a ribbon closure. So remember to do that. And then also this is what's going to be on the back. And I'm not sure what I'm going to have on the spine yet. It probably will be the burgundy, but I did have one other piece that I was considering. It's got this lady on it, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. So when I decide, I will show you what I'm going to do. Okay, now I'm going to do the cover of the book, and you can see I tried something, didn't like it, took it off. So I put in, it's an inch score tape, maybe by 2 inches, and I'm going to peel that off, and I've got my ribbon, and I'm going to have it all come to the center. I'll just burnish that in. I just don't want it to go anywhere. And then I've got the cover, so I'm going to put that there. Now should I have it all come at one point? Yeah, I probably should. I'm going to redo that. They'll all start at the same point. I'm going to trim that. I just don't want to add any excess bulk. Okay, now I'll go ahead and add some glue to the cover. It's easier to line everything up on a flat surface rather than, if you're going to have layers, rather than do it on the cover. But that's just my experience. You guys might be better at lining things up than I am. Alrighty, I'm going to turn it on its side, holding it by the edge. Make sure I'll get close to the edge. Make sure there's the same amount of the cover on all sides. And that looks pretty good. So I'll go ahead and burnish. I'm liking it. How do you like that? So there is the ribbon. And what I did is it was as straight as this. I keep a little spritz bottle next to me. And I just actually do it over my trash can. Put a piece of paper down. And spritz it a little bit. And wad it up in a ball. And hold it there for a minute or so. And that's all you need to crinkle it up. And I like the crinkled look. Otherwise you'd have to iron it. I'm not doing that. So I'll turn this over. And I've already got my score tape on the back. And do the same to match it up. And there we go. And then I am just simply having this burgundy cardstock here on the back. It's cut pretty close. You wanted to do that just so this pattern showed, but I like my backs to be pretty plain. Make sure that stays down. And again, I'll line it up. I like it. And there is the back cover. There is the front cover. I need to do the spine and decorate it, and then I'll do a walkthrough. So I have finished all of the construction of the mini album. All that was left was decorating. So if you want, go back to the beginning, which has a walkthrough, and see exactly what I did. I did end up making several photo mats in different sizes, so that way you can add them where you want them. If you're making this book for yourself, you just do it based on the photos. If you're making it for someone else, include these photo mats for people to decorate the book, and any extra cut aparts that you have. You know, I had a couple extra, and I'll just continue cutting them apart and include that in the book. So that is my tutorial and walkthrough of my Thanksgiving mini album. It is an 8.5 by 8.5, so it's not too mini, but I hope you enjoyed this. Please give this tutorial a thumbs up. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when my next video is out. And thanks for watching. Have a fabulous day.